How does a 72-year-old grandmother end up dying alone in a closed gas station off Interstate 80, 3 days before Christmas, in a blizzard? The same way she got there. Her own son kicked her in the stomach and drove away. It was -8 degrees, wind chill -20, a boarded-up Sunoco station that had been closed since 2019. He took my purse. He took my phone. He took my driver's license. He left me $60 and a typed letter telling whoever found me that I had dementia and had wandered off from a family gathering. I did not have dementia. I had $319,000 in stolen savings, a broken kneecap, frostbite on my right foot, and the bruise from his boot already turning purple on my stomach. My name is Carol Whitaker. I am 74 years old. I taught second grade for 31 years at Whittier Elementary School in Massillon, Ohio. My husband, Frank, passed away in May of 2024 from lung cancer caused by Agent Orange in Vietnam. We were married for 45 years. We raised 3 children in a small Cape Cod house with green shutters at 2247 Lincoln Way. 6 months after I buried Frank, my 3 children stole everything we had ever owned: the house, the savings, the life insurance, $319,000 in total. Then, the one I trusted most beat me, drugged me, and left me in a blizzard to freeze to death. The AARP says elder financial abuse costs American seniors $28 billion every year. 72% of it is done by family. 1 in 10 seniors will experience it. Only 1 in 44 cases is ever reported. Only 3% are ever prosecuted. 300,000 American grandmothers a year end up in nursing homes, emergency rooms, and shelters because of their own adult children. I am one of them. I am also one of the 3% who live to tell about it. But this is not a story about how I almost died. This is a story about the 2 complete strangers who pulled over on a back road at 9:47 p.m. that night. Because they saw a suitcase in the snow, and they could have kept driving. But they didn't, and it is the story of which one of my 3 children left me at that gas station. Because I promise you, it was not the one you would guess. It was not the one with the gambling problem. It was not the one drowning in credit card debt. It was not the one who skipped his father's funeral and watched it over FaceTime from a beach in Florida. It was the good one. The caseworker at the senior center. The boy who held his father's hand the night he died. His name was Kevin, and 6 weeks after we buried his father, he sat down at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a stack of papers. And he smiled. Massillon is a steel town that forgot. It was a steel town. The mill closed in 1984. Republic Steel. 6,000 men out of work in 1 week. Frank was one of them. He came home that day, stood in our kitchen, looked at me with his hands still black from the grease. "Carol, I'll figure something out." He did. He always did. He drove 45 minutes to a small machine shop in Canton for the next 32 years. He left the house at 5:15 every morning. He came home at 6:30 every night. He never missed a single day of work in 3 decades. He raised 3 children on that paycheck. When the cough started in early 2023, he ignored it. When the cough turned into blood in the sink in August, I drove him to the VA hospital in Cleveland myself. The doctor put the scan on the light box. He looked at Frank. He said the word. 4. Frank did not cry. Frank never cried. He squeezed my hand in that exam room. He looked at me. "Carol, the kids will take care of you, especially Kevin." He said it twice. Especially Kevin. I want you to remember that. My 3 children. Let me tell you about them in the order that matters. Brian was my oldest. 48 years old. He sold houses for R.E. Max in Columbus. From the outside, he looked like the American dream. Leased BMW. $680,000 house in Dublin. Second wife, named Heather. 2 teenagers he barely saw. From the inside, he was drowning. $73,000 to the IRS. $41,000 in credit card debt. The Dublin house was 4 months behind on mortgage payments, and nobody knew. Brian came to his father's funeral. He hugged me on the church steps. He cried real tears. Then he asked me for $5,000. "For the church donation, Mom. I'll pay you back next month." He never did. I never asked. That was my first warning. I missed it. Lisa was my middle child. 45. A dental hygienist in Tampa, Florida. Twice divorced. One daughter named Ashley, who Lisa rarely saw because Ashley lived with Lisa's first ex-husband in Orlando. Lisa had a problem with online shopping. Her closet had more than 200 pairs of shoes, most still in boxes. Her credit cards added up to $47,000. Lisa did not come to her father's funeral. She said the plane tickets were too expensive. I sent her $800 from Frank's insurance to cover a flight. She bought a Coach handbag instead. She told me later it was a self-care emergency. I forgave her. I always forgave my children. That was my second warning. I missed that one too. And then there was Kevin. Kevin was my baby. 41 years old, single. He worked as a case manager for the Northeast Ohio Area Agency on Aging, a nonprofit that helped seniors. He had a bachelor's degree in social work from Cleveland State. He had never made more than $52,000 in a year in his life. He lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Lakewood with a rescue cat named Murphy. Kevin came to his father's funeral, and he stayed. Brian gave the eulogy and flew home that same evening. Lisa called on FaceTime from a beach in Clearwater. Kevin stayed for 4 days. He slept on the couch. He cleaned out the casseroles from the neighbors that had piled up in my refrigerator. He drove me to the Social Security office. He drove me to the bank. He drove me to the cemetery on the 3rd morning and stood next to me while I cried into the new grass over his father's body. He held my hand. "Mom, I've got you. I promise." If you had asked me in June of 2024 which of my 3 children I trusted most, which one I would have given my last dollar to, which one I would have died for, I would have answered without hesitation, Kevin. And I would have been wrong in a way that would cost me everything. 6 weeks after the funeral, Kevin came over on a Tuesday morning. He brought a stack of papers and a cup of coffee from Tim Hortons. Black, 2 sugars, just how I liked it. He sat down at my kitchen table, the same table where Frank used to do his crossword puzzle every morning, the same table where Kevin had eaten 3,000 bowls of cereal as a boy. Kevin spread the papers out. "Mom, we need to talk about protecting you." I thought he meant from scammers. The ones on the news. The fake IRS calls. The Nigerian princes. I did not know the scammer was sitting at my kitchen table, wearing a sweater I had knitted for him in 2015, sipping coffee from a mug that said, "World's Best Mom." The papers were power of attorney forms, healthcare proxy, advance directive, durable financial POA. Kevin walked me through each one, slowly, patiently, the way I used to walk my 2nd graders through long division. If you had a stroke tomorrow, Mom, if you fell down the stairs, none of us could help you. The bank wouldn't talk to me. The doctors wouldn't talk to me. I nodded. I signed. I trusted my son. The next month, he suggested an assessment. "Mom, you've been forgetting things, misplacing your keys, calling me by Brian's name. It's not your fault. You just buried Dad. But let's get a baseline. I had been forgetting things. I had been calling him Brian. I was 72 years old, and I had just lost the man I had loved since I was 18. Of course, I was forgetting things, but I was scared. Because my own mother had died of Alzheimer's in a nursing home in Akron in 1998, strapped to a chair, crying for a husband who had been dead 12 years. I was scared of becoming her. So I went to the Cleveland Memorial Neurological Institute. I sat in a sterile room with a doctor I had never met. He asked me to remember 3 words: apple, penny, table. He asked me to draw a clock. He asked me what day it was. He asked me to count backward from 100 by sevens. 90 minutes later, he said the words: mild cognitive impairment. Mild stage. It is a diagnosis they give to almost everyone over 70 who has just lost a spouse. It does not mean dementia. It does not mean Alzheimer's. It does not mean you cannot manage your own affairs. But on paper, it looked serious. Kevin asked the doctor for a copy of the report. "Just for our records, Mom." I let him take it. September came. The leaves on the maple tree in our front yard turned red. Frank used to call that tree his pension. He had planted it in 1985 when Brian was 9. Kevin came over with a brochure. "Mom, look at this. It's called a reverse mortgage. You have all this equity in the house just sitting there, doing nothing. Dad worked his whole life for that money. You should be using it. Go on a cruise. Fix the roof. Help Lisa with Ashley's braces. It is your money, Mom." He emphasized the word, your. I knew about reverse mortgages. I had seen the commercials. I had a friend at church who had taken one out in 2019 and regretted it. I told Kevin no. He did not argue. He just left the brochure on the counter. 2 weeks later, he came back with another. "Just talk to the counselor, Mom. It's free. It's required by law. The counselor works for HUD. He's not a salesman. If you don't like it, walk away." I talked to the counselor. His name was Greg. He explained everything. He gave me a worksheet. He told me 3 times that I did not have to do this. Kevin drove me home. In the car, he said something I would replay in my head for the rest of my life. "Dad would want this for you, Mom. He used to talk to me about it. He said he wished he had done it years ago, so you wouldn't have to worry." I do not know if that was true. Frank never told me that. But Frank told Kevin a lot of things in those last months that he did not tell me. Manly things. The kind of conversations a father has with his youngest son when he knows he is dying. I signed the papers 2 weeks later. $187,000. The money went into a joint checking account at a regional bank in Cleveland. The account had 2 names on it, mine and Kevin's. "So I can pay your bills if you get sick, Mom." "Okay, sweetheart." After the reverse mortgage closed on October 4th, 2024, Frank's life insurance check finally cleared. $148,000 after the medical bills from his last hospitalization were paid. Kevin suggested putting that into the same joint account. "It is easier that way, Mom. One place, one statement. Less for you to keep track of." Then he asked about my own savings. $84,000 in a money market account at the credit union Frank and I had used since 1983. "Mom, the credit union pays 0.5% interest. The joint account pays 4%. You're losing money every day. Let me move it for you." I let him. By October 18th, every dollar Frank and I had earned in 45 years of marriage was in one bank account, with my son's name next to mine. $319,000 in total. I will never forget that number. The money disappeared in 7 weeks. I did not see it happen. That was the genius of the plan. Kevin had already changed my mailing address to his apartment in Lakewood. He had set up online banking and changed the password for security. He had told me I did not need to check the statements because he was handling everything. $73,000 went to Brian through a shell company in Delaware that Kevin had created in August. Brian paid down his IRS debt. He saved the Dublin house. He bought his daughter a new iPhone for Christmas. $47,000 went to Lisa through small wire transfers spread across 9 weeks. She paid off her Visa, her MasterCard, her store cards at Macy's and Nordstrom. Then she bought a new dining room set. The rest went to Kevin. He moved it through 23 separate transactions, each one under $10,000, so the IRS would not flag it. He bought silver coins. He bought cryptocurrency. He moved some into a credit union account in Pittsburgh that I did not know existed. In 7 weeks, my entire life evaporated, and I did not know. Because the next time I asked Kevin about the bank, he said, "Mom, you have plenty. Don't worry. Let me handle it." And I trusted my son. November came. The wind off Lake Erie cut through Massillon like a knife. Frank used to put plastic sheeting over our old windows every November. He had not done it in 2024 because he had been dying. I tried to do it myself. I dropped the staple gun. I broke a vase on the floor. I sat down on the carpet and cried for an hour. Kevin came over that night. He brought soup. 2 grilled cheese sandwiches wrapped in foil. He sat next to me on the couch. "Mom, I'm worried about you." "I'm fine, sweetheart." "You're not fine. Mrs. Henderson next door called me yesterday. She said she saw you in the front yard in your nightgown at 9 p.m. I had never been in the front yard in my nightgown. Mrs. Henderson had not called Kevin. I did not know that. I started to doubt my own memory. What if you fall, Mom? What if you have a stroke alone in this house? I can't lose you too. Not after Dad. I started to cry. Just come stay with me for the winter. Just until spring. Just so I can watch over you. I have an extra room. Murphy will keep you company. I packed 2 suitcases on November 27th, 2024. Clothes, a photo album, Frank's wedding ring on a chain around my neck, my mother's Bible, a framed photo of the 5 of us at Cedar Point in 1989, and one more thing, Frank's old Carhartt coat from the machine shop, the one that still smelled like his Old Spice and his sweat and his Marlboros from before he quit smoking in 1991. I could not sleep without it on my pillow since he died. I rolled it up at the bottom of the larger suitcase. I did not know I was packing the coat that would save my life. I locked the front door of 2247 Lincoln Way. I got in Kevin's car. I asked him if I had remembered to turn off the iron. "Yes, Mom, you did." I had not used the iron in 2 days. The first week in Kevin's apartment was almost nice. He made breakfast. He set up a Hallmark Channel marathon. He brought home Chinese food from a place on Madison Avenue that Frank and I had ordered from in 1988 when we drove up to see Kevin at college. He called me Mama. He had not called me Mama since he was 8 years old. I thought he loved me. I thought I had raised a good man. The second week is when it started. It was a Wednesday, November 13th. Murphy was sleeping on the kitchen counter. I asked Kevin if I could call my friend Marilyn from church to let her know where I was. Kevin's face changed. "Why?" "Because she'll worry, sweetheart. She always brings me a chicken pot pie on Wednesdays." "Mom, Marilyn doesn't actually care about you. She's lonely. She uses you. You don't need her. Kevin, she's my friend. I'm your family." He said it loud. Loud enough that Murphy ran off the counter. He took my phone out of my hand. "Let me handle your contacts, Mom. I'll let people know you're safe." I did not see that phone again for 3 weeks. By Saturday, I had not spoken to anyone except Kevin in 72 hours. That is how it starts. Isolation. It is the first chapter in every book ever written about elder abuse. I had never read those books. I did not know I was already inside one. The first time he hit me was at 2:14 in the morning. I remember the time because the microwave clock was the only light in the kitchen. I had gotten up to use the bathroom. I was passing through the kitchen on my way back to bed. Kevin's laptop was open on the table. The screen had not gone to sleep. I glanced at it the way you would glance at a newspaper headline. The Huntington Bank login page. Joint checking account. Current balance. $1,847. I read it 3 times. I read it a 4th time. I felt my legs go cold. There should have been $319,000 in that account. There was $1,847. I made a small sound. Not a word, just a sound. A door opened down the hallway. Kevin walked into the kitchen in his boxers and a Cleveland Browns t-shirt. He saw me. He saw the laptop. He saw my face. And for a moment, his face did something I had never seen before. It was not embarrassment. It was not panic. It was annoyance. Like a man whose plan had hit a snag. "What are you doing?" "Kevin, where's our money? Where's Daddy's life insurance?" He did not answer. He walked over. He hit me, an open palm across my left cheek. Hard enough that my head snapped to the right, and I stumbled into the kitchen chair and fell onto the linoleum. I was on the floor, looking up at my son. My son was looking down at me, like he did not know me. "What were you doing in my things?" I could not speak. My mouth was full of the taste of copper. I had bitten the inside of my cheek when his hand connected. He grabbed my upper arm. His grip was so tight I could feel his fingers separating the layers of muscle from the bone. He pulled me to my feet. He dragged me down the hallway to the spare bedroom where I had been sleeping under a quilt his ex-girlfriend had left behind 2 years before. He pushed me onto the bed. He stood in the doorway. "Go to sleep, Mom." He closed the door. I heard the lock turn from the outside. I did not know there was a lock on the outside of that door. I lay in the dark for the rest of the night. I did not sleep. I prayed to Frank. Frank. What did we do wrong? Frank. What did we raise? Frank did not answer. He was gone. I was alone. In the morning, Kevin brought coffee. He sat on the edge of the bed. He cried. Real tears. The kind I had wiped from his face when he was 4 and his goldfish died. The kind I had wiped from his face when he was 16 and his girlfriend dumped him before prom. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I haven't been sleeping. The stress of taking care of you. I lost it. Please forgive me. I love you so much. I would never hurt you. I just snapped." He put his head on my shoulder. He sobbed. I held him. I held the man who had hit me 4 hours ago. Because that is what mothers do. Because the bruise on my cheek was already turning purple. Because in my heart the bruise was different. In my heart the bruise was thinking, he is my son. He didn't mean it. He is exhausted. He just buried his father. He is a good boy underneath. It's okay, Kevin. It's okay, sweetheart. I forgave him. That morning, in that spare bedroom, with my cheek throbbing and my arm beginning to turn black, I forgave my son. And that was the moment he knew he could do it again. He hit me twice more in the next 3 weeks. Once, when I asked why the phone would not connect to Lisa's number, he shoved me into the doorframe. The doorknob caught my lower back. I had a bruise the size of a grapefruit for 14 days. Once, when I tried to walk out the front door for fresh air, he grabbed me by the back of the neck. He pulled me inside. He did not even say anything. He just locked the deadbolt and made himself a sandwich. He started putting something in my evening coffee. I did not know what it was at the time. I learned later from the toxicology report that it was trazodone, a sleep medication. Not enough to kill me, just enough to keep me sleeping 14 hours a night. He told the neighbors his mother had dementia. A woman from the upstairs apartment knocked on the door one Saturday after I had cried loud enough for her to hear through the floor. Kevin opened the door. He smiled. "Sorry, my mom has Alzheimer's. She gets confused at night. Thanks for checking on us." The woman nodded. She looked at Kevin like he was a saint. She looked past him to me, sitting on the couch in a stained nightgown. Her eyes filled with pity. Pity for him. Pity for the burden of his crazy old mother. She left. She did not come back. That was the worst part. Not the hitting. Not the drugging. Not the locked door at night. The worst part was the way the world looked at me. Like I was not there anymore. Like the 72-year-old woman who had taught second grade for 31 years had been replaced by something pathetic. Something not worth speaking to directly. Kevin had stolen my house. He had stolen my money. He had stolen my reputation. And he was not done. On the night of December 20th, I locked myself in the bathroom. It was the only room in the apartment without a camera. Kevin had installed 3 small cameras a week earlier. One in the kitchen, one in the hallway, one in my bedroom. "For your safety, Mom, in case you fall." The bathroom did not have one. I sat on the closed toilet lid. I looked at myself in the mirror. I had lost 11 pounds in 3 weeks. My hair was dirty. My cheek was yellow-green from the latest bruise. My eyes were not my eyes anymore. I made a decision. I took a tube of mascara from the drawer where his ex-girlfriend's makeup had been sitting for 2 years. I tore off a piece of toilet paper. I wrote on it carefully so the mascara would not smear. "My name is Carol Whitaker, 2247 Lincoln Way, Massillon, Ohio. Bank. Huntington joint account with my son, Kevin Whitaker. If something happens to me, find my children." I folded the toilet paper into a tiny square. I walked back to my room. I lifted the cloth lining inside Frank's old Carhartt coat at the bottom of my suitcase. I slipped the toilet paper into the secret slit where Frank used to hide his cash when he carried money home from work. I pressed the lining flat. I did not know why I did it. I just did it. 2 days later, that piece of toilet paper would be the only thing on earth that could prove who I was. On the morning of December 22nd, Kevin walked into my bedroom at 6:15 a.m. He was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. He was carrying a thermos. He smiled. It was the smile that scared me. It was not his smile. His real smile had a crooked tooth on the bottom left. He had had that crooked tooth since he was 12. The smile he gave me that morning was straight. Too straight. The kind of smile a man practices in a mirror. "Mom, get dressed. Brian and Lisa are waiting for us at a cabin in the Poconos. We're doing Christmas together, just like Dad would have wanted." I had not seen Brian since the funeral. I had not spoken to Lisa in 2 months. I should have known. But oh God, I wanted it to be true. I wanted to see my children. I wanted to believe my family was going to be okay. I got dressed. I packed my suitcase. I took the thermos of coffee. He kissed me on the forehead. "I love you, Mom." I drank the coffee. We got on Interstate 80 East at 7:42 a.m. I fell asleep before we crossed into Pennsylvania. I do not remember the next 9 hours. When I woke up, the sky was dark. It was 6:15 p.m. We had been driving for almost 11 hours. The Poconos were a 4-hour drive from Cleveland. I sat up in the passenger seat. "Kevin, where are we?" He did not answer. The windshield wipers were on high. Snow was hitting the glass faster than they could clear it. We were on a small road. 2 lanes, no streetlights, no houses. The headlights caught a faded sign. Sonoko. The S was hanging crooked. Kevin pulled into the lot. He turned off the engine. He stared straight ahead. Kevin, sweetheart, where's the cabin? He did not move. Honey, talk to me. He turned. His face was wet. I reached for his hand. He pulled it away. Mom, get out of the car. I thought I had misheard him. What? I need you to get out of the car. Now. Kevin, it's snowing. Where are we? Get out. His voice broke on the last word. I did not move. He got out of the driver's side. He walked around the front of the car. The headlights cut across his body. He looked like a stranger walking through his own grave. He opened my door. The cold hit me like a wall. Kevin, please, tell me what's happening. He took my arm. He pulled. I did not move. He pulled harder. Kevin, you're hurting me. He pulled. My weight came out of the seat. My feet hit the ground. My legs gave out. I went down hard onto my knees onto a sheet of ice that had formed over the asphalt. I felt my left kneecap crack. I cried out. He did not stop. He grabbed my upper arm. He dragged me 10 feet toward the boarded-up store. He let go. I fell on my side onto the snow. He went back to the car. He came back. He threw my suitcase next to me. He threw a thin coat at me. He threw a Ziploc bag onto the snow with a few $20 bills and an envelope. He stood over me. I looked up. Kevin? Why? He crouched down. He put his hand on my cheek. He cried, Mom, you would never have signed off on all of it. You'd have figured it out eventually. You'd have called the police on me, on all of us. We didn't have a choice. This is the only way. They'll find you in the morning. They'll think you wandered off. I left the paperwork. I'm so sorry, Mom. I love you. He stood up. I grabbed his ankle. I held on with everything I had. Kevin, please. I'm your mother. I'm your mother. He looked down at me. His eyes were not the eyes of my son. He kicked. His boot caught me in the stomach. I felt something move inside me. I let go. He walked back to the car. He got in. He started the engine. The headlights swept across me one last time. He drove away. I watched the red taillights disappear into the snow. It was 6:47 p.m. Sunday, December 22nd, 2024. I was alone. The envelope contained 3 things: a photocopy of my mild cognitive impairment diagnosis, a typed letter, unsigned, to whoever finds this woman. She is Carol Whitaker. She has dementia and wandered from a family gathering. We have been searching everywhere. Please call Adult Protective Services. Heartbroken family. A phone number for a prepaid burner phone that had already been disconnected. No driver's license. No Medicare card. No Social Security card. No bank card. $60 in 10s and 20s. Frank's wedding ring on the chain around my neck. And inside my suitcase, hidden inside the lining of an old Carhartt coat, a piece of toilet paper with my name on it. I got up. I do not know how. I was 72 years old. My knee was broken. My stomach was bleeding inside. The temperature was -8. The wind chill was -20. I got up. I dragged the suitcase across the lot to the side of the store. The broken window. I picked up a piece of asphalt the size of a baseball. I threw it. The window shattered the rest of the way. I cut my hand on the glass climbing in. I did not feel it. The inside of the store was dark. Empty shelves. a broken refrigerator case, trash in the corners. A calendar on the wall from 2019 turned to August. It was 20 degrees warmer inside than outside. That meant it was 12 degrees. I crawled into the corner. I opened my suitcase. I pulled out Frank's Carhartt coat. I put it on over my thin coat. It still smelled like him after 8 months in storage. I took out the photograph. Cedar Point, 1989. Frank in his fishing hat. Brian making bunny ears behind Lisa's head. Lisa squinting against the sun. Me holding a stick of cotton candy. Kevin on Frank's shoulders. Kevin laughing. Laughing with his whole face. I held the photograph against my chest. I closed my eyes. I prayed. I did not pray for rescue. I prayed for Frank to come and take me. Frank, I'm tired. Frank, please, come get me. The wind howled through the broken window. The snow kept falling. My breath came slower. My fingers stopped hurting. That was the worst sign. When the cold stops hurting, that is when you are dying. At 9:17 p.m., I stopped praying. I just waited. 12 miles away, in Brookville, Pennsylvania, a man named Ethan Pruitt was clocking out of a welding shop. He was 32 years old. He was a foster kid who had aged out of the system at 18 with no family, no money, and a drinking problem he would not get under control until he was 27. He had been sober for 4 years, 7 months, and 12 days. There was a sobriety coin hanging from the rear-view mirror of his 2008 Ford F-150. He was on his way to pick up his wife from the hospital where she worked as a certified nursing assistant. Her name was Sarah. She was 29. She had lost her mother to ovarian cancer at 14. She had lost her grandmother to a stroke at 22. She had lost 2 pregnancies in the last 18 months. The most recent one was 11 weeks ago. She still was not sleeping right. Ethan pulled into the parking lot of Penn Highlands Brookville Hospital at 9:23 p.m. Sarah was waiting outside the employee entrance. Her hair was in a messy bun. Her scrubs had a coffee stain. She was holding 2 cups from the cafeteria. She got in the truck. She kissed his cheek. She handed him a coffee. "Long one tonight, baby." "Yeah?" "Yeah." She did not say more. He knew what kind of shifts she had. He had married her 3 years ago in a courthouse in Clarion. She had cried during the vows because it was the first time anyone had ever promised not to leave her. She buckled her seatbelt. She closed her eyes. "Take me home." He drove. He took the back way. State Route 36. He always took the back way. He liked the trees. He liked the dark. He liked the way Sarah slept against the window when the road was quiet. She fell asleep within 5 minutes. He turned off the radio. He was 12 miles down the road when his headlights caught something at the edge of an old gas station lot. He almost did not see it. He almost drove past. He told me later that he did not know why he slowed down. He just did. He looked. There was a suitcase in the snow. He thought maybe it had fallen off a truck, but something in his stomach, something he could not name. He pulled over. He nudged Sarah's shoulder. "Sarah, wake up." She opened her eyes. "What?" "There's a suitcase." She squinted into the dark. Then she said it. "Ethan, that's a person. I did not hear them. I did not hear the truck door slam. I did not hear Sarah running across the lot in her white sneakers. I did not hear her boots crunching through the broken glass. I felt her hand on my face. I opened my eyes. A young woman was looking at me, a face I had never seen before. Brown eyes, tired, kind, frightened. She was crying. "Ma'am, my name is Sarah. You're okay. You're safe. I've got you. We're getting you out of here." I tried to speak. My lips would not move. I managed 2 words. My son. It's okay. Don't talk. Just stay with me. I said it again. My son. Don't ruin. My son. She did not understand. She would not understand for another 2 weeks, but she would remember those words for the rest of her life. She wrapped me in her own coat. Ethan came through the window. He lifted me like I weighed nothing. He carried me across the lot. He put me in the cab of the truck. Sarah climbed in. She held me against her body. She rubbed my hands. She breathed her own warm breath onto my fingers. Ethan got in the driver's side. He floored it. Sarah was sobbing into my hair. Stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me. Please. I closed my eyes. I was warm. I had not been warm in 3 hours. I thought maybe I was dead. Maybe this was Frank. Maybe this was what dying felt like. A young woman with brown eyes telling me to stay. I woke up in a hospital bed. The ceiling was white. A monitor was beeping somewhere over my left shoulder. A woman was holding my hand. The same woman. Brown eyes. Tired. Kind. She had not gone home. Her shift had ended at 9 p.m. the night before. It was now 1:47 p.m. the next day. She had been at my bedside for almost 17 hours. She saw me open my eyes. She did not say anything dramatic. She did not say, "Thank God," or "We did it." She just squeezed my hand. "Hi, I'm Sarah. Do you know your name?" Carol Whitaker. Carol, that's a beautiful name. Can you tell me what year it is? 2024. Who's the president? I told her. She smiled. The smile broke something inside me. Okay, you're okay. We were really worried. How did you find me? My husband saw your suitcase from the road. I closed my eyes. I started to cry. I have a son. I have 3 children. Kevin. My son, Kevin. I could not finish. Sarah did not ask any questions. She just held my hand. She held it through the doctor's rounds. She held it when the social worker came in. She held it when a nurse asked if I wanted to call anyone. There's no one. The nurse looked at me with pity. Sarah looked at me differently. Sarah looked at me like I mattered. Carol. I'm a CNA. I work in this hospital. I have to file a report with Adult Protective Services. The bruises. The frostbite. The doctor told me you have injuries from multiple stages of healing. That means someone has been hurting you for weeks. I have to tell them. It is the law in Pennsylvania. Do you understand? I nodded. But you don't have to talk about who did it. Not yet. Not until you're ready. You can say, I don't remember 1,000 times if you need to. Do you understand? I nodded. Sarah. Yes. Why are you doing this? She paused for a long time. Because my mother died when I was 14 and nobody came for me. And every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to come for somebody. Then her husband came in. A man I did not know. Carhartt jacket. Grease on his knuckles. Tired eyes. He looked at me. Ma'am, I'm Ethan. We're not leaving until you have somewhere to go. I cried so hard I could not breathe. The doctors documented everything. Hypothermia, stage 2. Frostbite on the right pinky toe that would have to be amputated in 6 weeks. Hairline fracture of the left patella. Internal bruising of the abdominal wall consistent with blunt force trauma. Bruising on the upper left arm. Fingerprint pattern, 4 to 6 days old. Bruising on the lower back, 7 days old. Bruising on the left cheek, 14 days old. The medical report used a phrase I would hear in court 11 months later. Extensive bruising consistent with physical abuse, multiple stages of healing. It is the phrase that makes prosecutors pay attention. It is the phrase that ends careers and starts indictments. But I did not know any of that yet. I just knew Sarah was sitting next to me when I fell asleep. And Sarah was sitting next to me when I woke up. I stayed in the hospital for 9 days. On the 3rd day, Sarah brought me a sweater. Pink. Soft. It smelled like vanilla. It was hers. On the 4th day, Ethan brought me a Bible. Not a new one. His own. The first page had been signed by his AA sponsor in 2020. I don't know what you believe in, but this book got me through some nights I shouldn't have made it through. I held it against my chest. I have a Bible. Then you have 2 now. He left. On the 9th day, I was discharged. I had nowhere to go. The hospital social worker had a list of nursing homes that took emergency Medicaid placements. The list had 2 names on it. Both facilities had open complaints with the state for resident neglect. Sarah came into my room at 2 p.m. She had Ethan with her. "Carol, we have something to ask you." "Okay." "We live in a mobile home. It's small, 700 square feet. But we have a 2nd bedroom. Ethan cleaned it out this morning. We bought a bed from Goodwill. He put it together last night." "Sarah, you don't know me." "I know enough. I might have nothing left. I don't know what's in my bank account. I don't have an ID. I don't have a home anymore." "We're not asking for anything." Ethan was leaning against the doorframe. "Ma'am, we just want to give you a soft place to land." I cried. "Yes." I said it again. "Yes. Please." Yes. The mobile home was in Brookville Mobile Estates, Lot 47. Beige siding, green shutters. A wooden ramp Ethan had built himself the year before. The 2nd bedroom was 8 feet by 10 feet. A window facing east. A bed with a quilt Sarah had taken from her grandmother's house when her grandmother died in 2018. A small dresser. A nightstand with a single yellow daffodil in a jar. Sarah had bought the daffodil that morning. In December. In Pennsylvania. She had driven 20 miles to a flower shop in Dubois to find it. Because she remembered, from one moment of conversation in the hospital, that I had told her daffodils were my favorite. I sat on the bed. I looked at the daffodil. I cried like I had not cried since the day Frank died. The first meal was tomato soup and grilled cheese on white bread with American cheese. Sarah made it. She set the table for 3. I sat down. I looked at my plate. I could not lift my spoon. "Is it not warm enough?" "Sarah, I can't remember the last time someone made me food." She did not say anything. Ethan did not say anything. They just waited. They did not make me explain. I picked up the spoon. I ate. Halfway through, I started crying into the bowl. Ethan got up. He walked out to the porch. I thought I had upset him. Sarah shook her head. "He's not mad. He just doesn't want you to feel like you have to stop crying because someone is watching." I looked out the window. Ethan was standing in the snow. He had taken a crumpled pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He did not light one. He just held it. I learned later that he had quit smoking 4 years before, but he kept the pack in his glove compartment for moments like this, when he needed somewhere to put his hands, so other people could feel free to fall apart. I spent 6 weeks recovering in that mobile home. I learned about Sarah and Ethan in pieces. I learned that Sarah's mother had died of ovarian cancer when she was 14, that her father had left when she was 6, that her grandmother had raised her in a small apartment in Punxsutawney until she was 22, that her grandmother had died of a stroke alone in the kitchen on a Tuesday morning while Sarah was at her CNA class. I learned that Sarah had been pregnant twice. I learned that she had lost both pregnancies. I learned that her doctor had told her, after the second one, that she might not be able to carry to term. I learned all this not because she told me. I learned because I listened. Because she would lose her train of thought sometimes when she was folding laundry. And I would say, "Sweetheart, what is it?" And she would look at me with those tired brown eyes and tell me one small thing. I learned that Ethan had grown up in 7 foster homes, that 2 had been okay, that 5 had not been, that he had taught himself to weld at the local Votech because the last foster father he had lived with had been a welder, that he had started drinking at 15 and stopped at 27. I learned that on the 2nd week, he came home with a bruise on his jaw. He did not mention it. Sarah looked at me when she saw it. She did not say anything either. That night, I heard her in the kitchen, asking him quietly if he had been to a meeting that day. He said he had not. He said he had been at a bar, just sitting, just looking at a glass of water. 2 men had walked in he had known from his drinking years. One of them had said something about Sarah he should not have said. He had not had a drink. He had thrown a punch. He had taken one back. He had come home. Sarah did not get angry. She did not cry. She just took out her phone and texted his AA sponsor. She made him dinner. She kissed the bruise on his jaw. She said, "I'm proud of you for coming home." That was the night I knew these 2 were going to be okay. Not perfect. Not always. But okay. Because they faced their broken parts together and did not pretend. On Valentine's Day, Sarah called me Mom for the first time. She was making eggs. She yelled from the kitchen, "Mom, scrambled or fried?" The whole house froze. The eggs sizzled in the pan. Ethan looked at me from the couch. He looked at Sarah. He looked back at me. Sarah turned bright red. I'm sorry. I didn't. I stood up. I walked into the kitchen. I put my hand on her cheek. "Scrambled, sweetheart. Always scrambled." She started crying. I held my daughter against my chest. The one I had not given birth to. The one God had given me at a closed Sunoco station in a blizzard on the worst night of my life. I had been a mother for 48 years. But that morning, in that small kitchen, with the eggs burning in the pan and the snow falling outside, was the first morning of my real motherhood. While I was learning to live again, Brian and Lisa were carrying on with their lives, but neither of them slept well anymore. Kevin had told them only enough to keep them quiet. He had told them I was at a memory care facility in Cleveland. He had told them not to call because phone calls confused me. He had told them he was handling everything, and they should trust him. Brian almost believed it. He needed to believe it. Because believing it meant he could keep using the $73,000 Kevin had wired him. Because asking questions meant losing the Dublin house. But Brian was not stupid. He knew the math did not work. He had watched Kevin transfer the money. He had signed the Shell LLC paperwork himself. He knew exactly how much had been taken from me and how. And he knew that no memory care facility in Cleveland would accept a woman without an ID and without family contact and without paperwork from Adult Protective Services. He chose not to know more. That is the worst kind of cruelty. The kind that does the math and looks away. On Christmas Day in Dublin, his 13-year-old daughter asked the question he had been dreading for 3 weeks. "Dad, why isn't Grandma coming this year?" Brian froze with his fork halfway to his mouth. Heather looked up from the green beans. "She's with Uncle Kevin, sweetheart. Grandma's tired. She needed a quiet Christmas." "Can we FaceTime her?" "Her phone's not working. Eat your dinner." His daughter ate her dinner. After dessert, after the presents, after Heather and the kids went to bed, Brian went out to the garage. He sat in the driver's seat of the BMW. He opened the glove compartment. He took out a bottle of Bushmills Irish whiskey. The bottle his father Frank had given him for Christmas in 2019. The last gift Frank had ever given him. Brian had not opened it. He opened it that night. He drank 3 fingers. He cried for 45 minutes. He pulled out his phone. He scrolled to Kevin's number. He did not call. He scrolled to my number. He did not call. He scrolled to Lisa. He did not call. He put the phone face down on the passenger seat. He drank the rest of the bottle. He slept in the garage. The next morning, he told himself he would deal with it later. There would not be a later. In Tampa, Lisa got a text from Kevin on December 30th. Mom is safe. She's at a memory care facility in Cleveland. They're treating her well. Don't call. It confuses her. Lisa was sitting in her apartment. A new Coach handbag was on her bed. She had bought it with the last $1,200 from Mom's money. She looked at the text. She typed back, "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Trust me." She put the phone down. She looked at the Coach handbag. She thought about the fact that her mother had never been in a memory care facility in her life. She thought about the fact that the doctor at Cleveland Clinic had said mild, and mild meant nothing serious. She thought about the fact that Kevin had been very specific about her not calling. She picked up her phone. She typed, "Which facility, Kev?" "I want to send flowers." 3 dots appeared. They disappeared. 3 minutes later, he replied, "I'll text you the address tomorrow. Just don't send anything yet. They have rules." The address never came. Lisa did not ask again. She put on makeup. She went out to dinner. She told her new boyfriend her mother was resting at a facility. She did not call me. She chose not to know. That was her sister Brian's cruelty. The cruelty that wore Chanel No. 5 and went out for sushi. On March 14th, 2025, Sarah came home from her shift carrying a manila envelope. It was a Thursday. I was sitting at the kitchen table peeling potatoes for dinner. I had been peeling potatoes since I was 8 years old, but it took me longer now because my left hand still did not have full grip strength. 3 potatoes took me 40 minutes. Sarah set the envelope on the table. She did not say anything. She put a kettle on the stove. She made me a cup of Earl Grey with 1 sugar. She sat down across from me. She slid the envelope across the table. "What is it?" "It's from the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office. They have been working with the FBI. They want to interview you on Monday." I put the potato down. I dried my hands on a dish towel. "Sarah, I don't want to." "I know. He's my son." "I know. Whatever they decide to do, he's still my son." "Mom, I know." I picked up the envelope. I opened it. The first page was a letter from a federal prosecutor named Rebecca Kim. She had been investigating elder financial abuse cases for 11 years. The letter said she had been notified of my case by Adult Protective Services through Sarah's mandatory report. She had cross-referenced the bank records that the hospital social worker had subpoenaed under emergency protective order. She had found something. She had found 23 transactions in 7 weeks. She had found a Shell LLC in Delaware. She had found a Pittsburgh credit union account in Kevin's name. She had found a CCTV camera mounted on a telephone pole across the road from the closed Sunoco station. A camera installed by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation in 2022 to monitor road conditions during winter storms. The camera had captured 43 minutes of footage. It had captured everything. Kevin's car arriving. Kevin opening the passenger door. Kevin dragging me onto the ice. Kevin throwing my suitcase. Kevin kicking me. Kevin driving away. I looked up at Sarah. "Mom, they have him." I started crying. I cried at the kitchen table for half an hour. I cried for the boy in the picture from Cedar Point. I cried for the man who had held his father's hand the night Frank died. I cried for the son I had loved. I cried because I was about to lose him for the second time. The first time had been at the gas station. The second time would be in a federal courtroom in 7 months. Sarah let me cry. She put her hand on mine. She did not tell me everything would be okay. She did not lie to me. That is the gift of the people who actually love you. They do not lie to make you feel better. The FBI interview was on Monday. A young agent named Daniel Reyes drove up from Pittsburgh. He came to the mobile home so I would not have to travel. He sat at the same kitchen table where I had peeled potatoes. He drank Sarah's coffee. He spoke to me like I was his own grandmother. I told him everything. I told him about the POA. I told him about the diagnosis Kevin had pushed for. I told him about the reverse mortgage. I told him about the joint account. I told him about the lock on the outside of the spare bedroom door. I told him about the bruises. I told him about the trazodone in the coffee. I told him about the toilet paper. I went into the bedroom. I came out with Frank's Carhartt coat. I lifted the lining. I pulled out the tiny folded square of toilet paper. The mascara had not bled. The words were still legible. My name is Carol Whitaker. Agent Reyes took it. He held it like it was made of glass. He looked at me. Mrs. Whitaker, do you know what this is? It's a piece of toilet paper. No, ma'am. This is the document that just guaranteed your son a federal sentence. He explained it to me. The fact that I had hidden a written record of my address, my name, and Kevin's name showed 2 things. First, that I had been in fear for my life before the abandonment. Second, that I had been competent enough to plan, to write, to hide a document. Competent enough that the mild cognitive impairment diagnosis Kevin had been weaponizing would not hold up in court. He put the toilet paper into an evidence bag. He sealed it. He looked at me. Mrs. Whitaker, in 19 years of doing this job, I have never had a victim plan that well in the middle of being abused. You are the strongest person I have met all year. I cried. Then he told me what he was going to do to my children. Brian was arrested on May 4th, 2025, in his driveway in Dublin. Heather watched from the front porch in her bathrobe. The neighbors took video. Lisa was arrested the same day at her dental office in Tampa. They let her out through the lobby in handcuffs. A patient was getting a cleaning. Lisa's boyfriend was waiting in the parking lot to take her to lunch. Kevin was arrested at the offices of the Northeast Ohio Area Agency on Aging. He had been at work. He had been helping a 90-year-old man fill out a Medicare appeal. The FBI agents waited until he had finished the appointment. They let the old man leave first. Then they put my son in handcuffs. I was told all of this later. I was sitting on the porch of the mobile home when Sarah came home with the news. Mom, they got all 3. I did not say anything. I just rocked. I watched a robin building a nest in the maple tree at the edge of the lot. It was the first warm day of the year. The robin did not care about Kevin. The robin only cared about the spring. I cared about both. That is the curse of being a mother. The trial did not go to trial. In federal court, 97% of cases plead out. Kevin pled guilty on August 21st, 2025. Brian on September 3rd. Lisa on September 8th. The sentencing hearings were spread across October. I attended all 3. Sarah sat next to me every time. Ethan sat behind us with his Bible on his knee. At Brian's hearing, I watched my oldest son receive 3.5 years in federal prison and a restitution order of $73,000. He cried in his orange jumpsuit. He looked at me across the courtroom. He mouthed the words, "I'm sorry, Mom." I did not nod. I did not smile. I did not turn away either. I just looked at him. I let him look at me. I made him see who he had hurt. That was all I had to give him. At Lisa's hearing, I watched my middle child receive 2 years and 3 months in federal prison and a restitution order of $47,000. She did not look at me. She kept her eyes on the table. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, she said, "I'm sorry, Your Honor." She did not say sorry to me. That was her choice. I made my peace with it. At Kevin's hearing on October 17th, 2025, I watched my youngest son receive 11 years in federal prison plus 4 years in Ohio State Prison for the assault charges. The sentences would run concurrently. He would be 52 years old when he got out. I would be 85, if I was alive. The prosecutor turned to me. "Mrs. Whitaker, do you want to make a victim statement before sentencing?" I had written one. 3 pages, in my second-grade teacher handwriting. I had practiced it the night before with Sarah at the kitchen table. I stood up. I held the pages in my hand. I walked to the podium. I looked at the pages. I looked at Kevin. He was looking down at the table. I tore up the pages. I let them fall on the floor of the courtroom. I leaned into the microphone. "Kevin, I forgive you, but I do not forget you. Goodbye, son." I sat down. The courtroom was silent. Kevin's head was on the table. His shoulders were shaking. The judge cleared his throat. "Mr. Whitaker, stand up." Kevin stood. The judge sentenced him. The bailiff led him through a door at the back of the courtroom. I did not watch him go. I looked at my hands in my lap. I felt Sarah's hand cover mine. I felt Ethan's hand on my shoulder. I did not cry. I had no tears left for that boy. I had buried him. The way I had buried Frank. Only Frank had earned his death honestly. Kevin had chosen his. The recovery of money was complicated. Restitution does not mean instant repayment. Kevin had hidden assets that the FBI was still tracing into 2026. Some of the silver coins he had bought were recovered from a storage unit in Pittsburgh. Some of the cryptocurrency was seized through a court order. Brian was on a payment plan that would last 20 years. Lisa had no money to give back and would have to work it off over decades. I would not see most of it in my lifetime, but I got back enough to matter. The reverse mortgage was a different story. The lender, a regional reverse mortgage company that had no idea their loan had been part of a crime, was a good-faith third party. They had followed every HUD rule. They could keep their lien on 2247 Lincoln Way. I lost the house where Frank had repainted the green shutters every 5 summers, the house where the maple tree was 40 years old, the house where I had raised 3 children, the house where Frank had died. It was sold at auction in February of 2026 to a young couple from Akron with a baby on the way. I drove past it once, just once, on my way back from a court hearing. Sarah was driving. I asked her to slow down on Lincoln Way. The new owners had painted the shutters black. The maple tree was still there. There was a tricycle on the porch. I did not cry. I had cried enough about the house in my mind. By the time I saw it, I had already let it go. A house is not a home. A home is where the people who love you eat dinner. My home was no longer in Massillon. My home was a mobile home in Brookville, Pennsylvania, with a CNA and a welder and a daffodil in a jar. In the summer of 2026, after the 3rd round of fertility treatment, Sarah found out she was pregnant. She was 8 weeks along when she told me. She did not want to tell me earlier in case she lost it. She told me by leaving the pregnancy test on my pillow in a pink envelope. I cried so hard, Murphy the cat. Yes, we adopted Kevin's cat after the trial because no one else wanted him. came over and put his head against my leg. I called Sarah at work. Yes. Yes, what? Yes, I will be her grandmother. She started crying on the phone. How did you know it was a girl? I just know. She and Ethan picked the name themselves. They did not ask me. They wanted it to be a surprise. I learned the name in the delivery room. She was born on June 19th, 2026, at 4:47 in the morning. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, 21 inches long. Sarah held her first, then Ethan. Then they put her in my arms. I was 74 years old. She was 11 minutes old. She opened her eyes. She looked at me. I do not know what she saw, but I know what I saw. I saw Frank's eyes. I saw Kevin's eyes when he was 6 and laughing on his father's shoulders at Cedar Point. I saw Brian's eyes the day I drove him to his first day of kindergarten. I saw Lisa's eyes the night she was born in Akron Community Hospital in 1979. I saw every child I had ever loved, and I saw a new one. Sarah leaned over the bed. She brushed the baby's cheek with her finger. Mom, meet Frances Carol Pruitt. Frances for the husband who saved you. Carol for the woman who saved us. I could not speak. I just held my granddaughter. I whispered to her, Hi, baby girl. I'm your grandma, and I am not going anywhere. The sun came up through the hospital window. The light fell across her face. She closed her eyes and slept. A nurse came in. She asked if we needed anything. Sarah said, No, everything we need is right here. I held Frankie against my chest. I felt her small heart beating against mine. The same heart that had been hidden inside Sarah for 9 months. The same heart that had decided, against all the odds her mother had been told, to live. Outside the window, a robin was sitting on a branch. Spring had finally come. Good night, Mom. I love you.